Imagine this. You command one of the most feared weapons of World War II. You're a decorated hero of the Third Reich, sinking Allied ships with ruthless efficiency. Your name strikes terror into the hearts of sailors across the Atlantic. But then, the war ends. What happens to a man who lived such a life? Does he fade into obscurity, face justice, or does he rise again, even wearing the uniform of a new Germany, and serve the very alliance he once fought against? The Battle of the Atlantic was World War II's longest and deadliest campaign. At its heart were Germany's U-boats, a silent, deadly force that pushed the Allies to the brink. These were the Hunters, commanded by men like Otto Kretschmer, the Silent Otto, or Erich Topp, the Red Devil. They were young, highly skilled, and utterly dedicated to their mission. For years, they were the scourge of the seas, a potent symbol of German power. But the tide turned. Allied technology, tactics, and sheer industrial might began to overwhelm the U-boat force. What started as a daring offensive became a desperate struggle for survival. Of the 40,000 men who served in U-boats, a staggering 30,000 never came home. This was a war of attrition, and for those who survived, the end of the conflict brought a new, uncertain reality. For many commanders, the immediate aftermath meant capture. Men like Otto Kretschmer, the top-scoring U-boat ace, spent years in Allied POW camps. This was a jarring transition from the claustrophobic intensity of a U-boat to the relative monotony of captivity. These camps became a liminal space, where former enemies guarded each other. They were forced to process the trauma of war and perhaps contemplate their future in a world utterly transformed. For other commanders, recommentation returned to a Germany shattered by war. They had to rebuild not just their country, but their own lives. Some, like Reinhard Hartigan, known for his audacious attacks off the American coast, channeled their wartime discipline and strategic thinking into business. Hartigan became a successful oil executive, a far cry from stalking convoys in the Atlantic. These men often carried their wartime experiences silently. They integrated back into a society desperate for stability and reconstruction. But then came perhaps the most surprising twist: the recreation of a German navy in the mid-1950s, the Bundesmarine, as part of NATO. And who better to lead this new force than experienced, albeit controversial, naval officers? Men like Otto Kretschmer, the former U-boat ace, returned to service. He rose through the ranks to become a flotilla admiral, even serving as chief of staff for the NATO Command Baltic approaches. Can you imagine the irony? A man who once tried to starve Britain into submission, now helping defend the West against a new threat. Erich Topp, another decorated U-boat commander, also rejoined the Bundesmarine, ultimately becoming an inspector. Ernst Rauer, commander of U-120, served for nearly 20 years in the post-war German Navy. Their rehabilitation, and indeed their re-employment, was a pragmatic decision in a Cold War world, but also a profound statement on forgiveness and the need to move forward. However, not all stories ended in rehabilitation or quiet retirement. The shadow of war crimes loomed large for some. Admiral Karl Dönitz, the Grand Admiral of the U-boat fleet and Hitler's designated successor, was tried at Nuremberg. He was convicted not for direct atrocities, but for waging unrestricted submarine warfare, a controversial charge, and for crimes against peace. He served 10 years in Spandau prison. And then there were direct acts of brutality. Commander Heinz Wilhelm Eck of U-852 faced a far harsher fate. After sinking a Greek freighter, he ordered his men to machine gun the survivors in the water to destroy evidence. He and several of his crew were tried and executed for their actions, a stark reminder that even in the chaos of war, individual accountability for horrific crimes existed. The stories of Germany's U-boat commanders after World War II are not simple tales of heroes or villains. They are complex narratives of survival, adaptation, justice, and astonishing rehabilitation. From the depths of the Atlantic to the halls of NATO, Their journeys reflect the turbulent, often contradictory process of a nation grappling with its past and forging a new identity. Their lives remind us that history is rarely black and white, but a spectrum of human choices and consequences. What do you think about the fates of these commanders? Were their post-war roles justified? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this dive into history fascinating, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more untold stories, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload.